It sounds like teams are starting to call Calgary because they don't know how to manage their own cap space.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. As the playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to, but FanDuel has something for everyone this year. A bonus or a boost daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. Today, we're going to be talking about the Flames taking on bad contracts and why this really does benefit them, and it's not just doing a solid for someone else. And who could they be taking on next? Or first, I guess. But make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you're getting your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And we're sticking with daily shows through July, so we will be here through the dog days of summer. If you have been at the Calgary Stampede, I hope you're having fun and wearing sunblock and staying hydrated. But right now, the Flames are, I don't want to say they're in a pickle because this really does work to their benefit. You know, having a chunk of change to play around with. I think they're at about $20 million in cap space, which is a lot of money. A lot of teams would love to have a fraction of that even. And I like this. This is great for the Flames. Whether they want to take on, like, bring someone in, maybe pay a little bit more for an extension, like a Dustin Wolf extension, something like that. Like, there's flexibility, and that's what the Flames have needed. But let's be truthful with ourselves here. The Flames aren't looking to get better at this very moment, right? We know that this is going to be a similar, if not worse, season than last year because of the additions don't exactly cancel out the subtractions. So you gotta, the additions don't cancel out the subtraction. Yes. So you gotta think realistically here. And we know that the Flames they're rebuilding. They have used that word, and the way that this roster is constructed, the moves that they've made by trading Jacob Markstrom, trading Andrew Mangiapane right before his wedding, that signifies a rebuild. Even if the rich men in the office, the owners, don't want to call it that, that's what this is. They are looking to stabilize this team for an 82-game season. This isn't about, okay, like it's not a retool on the fly either. Like, we are beyond that point. And that's good because then you're digging yourself out of the hole rather than digging yourself a deeper one. They're looking to acquire pieces that will, obviously be part of the equation now, but also beneficial for them down the road. And you look at how well they drafted this year and how they did in free agency, and this is a very good sign. And I have not heard people be jealous of the way of the Flames in 3 years. They went from this underdog of a team that was just blew expectations out of the water, tanked a little bit, lost their key pieces, and now it's starting to trend upwards, and they're getting attention for the right reasons. And this is about collecting the pieces for a good hockey team, a sustainable a team that's going to be good and sustainable for like a decent amount of time. And this isn't going to be like like we're just opening the window for 3 years or 2 seasons sort of thing. Like, you want this to be like the franchise changing moments. These moves, like, we should look back on them in 10 years and say, Craig Conroy nailed this draft. Had he not nailed this draft, Flames wouldn't have gone to the Stanley Cup final, or they wouldn't have, I don't know, won the, I don't know. But we should be looking back at this as the start of the success point and really like a defining moment. This summer is a very defining moment. And there's, we've talked about it a lot, especially during the season, but benchmarks. Like, this is really like the first tangible benchmark, it feels like, other than the trade deadline, that the Flames are rebuilding. And this is just a piece on the timeline. We're going to keep moving, and we're going to look back at it and say, hey, like, at the trade deadline, this was great. He's moving these pieces. This piece comes in and it gets us this draft capital, whatever it is. You have these reference points to look at, like, hey, the team was bad, still kind of bad, but like, look at what that got us. And I think it's a slow process, and we are still very much in the trenches of this process, but it's a good moment. And I think for the Flames to continue to have success in the future, they're going to need to have more success in the draft. And they are absolutely on the road to doing that. And it's not just about, like, your designated draft picks that you get every year regardless. It's making the most out of what you acquire. Turning this second round pick into a prospect, or, packaging this third round for this, and like just trading the draft pick to trade a draft pick sort of thing, and to trade up, like whatever the case may be. Taking advantage of your draft capital is something the Flames should continue to do. And I think that we saw what this current front office is capable of. And it's pretty good. On paper, it looks great. We're going to have to wait to see the true results, but things are looking up for right now in this department. But coming up next, we're going to talk about some contracts that may be coming Calgary's way, and what could become of them. Because, like I said, the Flames have flexibility, and that they are listening to these calls and to what these teams might want to do. But before we do that, we are going to take a quick break here, and I want to talk to you all about one of our longtime sponsors here at Locked On, and that would be FanDuel. I love sports, and I know you love sports too, and we never want them to stop. But as playoffs wind down, we get fewer and fewer games, and sports aren't sporting like we want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there is something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and get started on making the most of your summer. Visit FanDuel.com. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me today and making Locked On Flames part of your day. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss a show. This off season has been bananas, because you're hearing, are the Leafs going to strip John Tavares of his captaincy to give it to Austin Matthews? The Rangers are looking to literally move on from their captain, Jacob Trouba. Patrick Laine and Elvis Merzlikins have come out and said, I'm done. I'd like a change of scenery. And we know that our enemies in the North, the Oilers, are in trouble too. And there are some teams that have supposedly been calling the Flames and trying to sweeten them up to take on some of these bad contracts. And it's a good thing. Like we talked about, you get there's benefit to this. And apparently these teams are the Islanders, the Rangers, the Devils, and the Predators. To me, this is interesting because I immediately, for the Rangers, we know it's Trouba. For the Oilers, are they looking at Cody Ceci and Darnell Nurse? The Islanders, truthfully, I don't think that the Islanders are maybe JPG, Pajot, Evander Kane is apparently, really tying up cap space for the Oilers. I'm not really sure what the what jerseys issue I say, but what's cooking in Jersey? I don't nothing immediately comes to mind. Like the only super expensive contract that I can think of is Dougie Hamilton, and he has been injured a lot, but that man is not coming back to Calgary. You can probably just and he's 2 years into a super long-term extension. That's just, I do not believe that that's what's going on there. Now that I think of it, if the Flames trade for Evander Kane, that's going to be real bad. That's going to be real bad. I think Craig Conroy is smart enough to not do that. He's already had one PR disaster on his hands and has talked a lot about the level he holds his locker room to and how important culture is. So I don't think that's happening. And if it does, we're going to have a very different conversation. But with these opportunities, you may be able to really, I don't want to say take advantage of it, but get a lot of bang for your buck here, because you doing I'll use Trouba for example, because that's the most prominent one, I would say, and that we've seen discussed relentlessly. Jacob Trouba, $8 million for the next few years, and not a very good defenseman. Let's be honest here. He was a very big liability in the playoffs and just horrendous. So, I mean, you won't have to worry about your playoffs being spoiled by him because you're not making the playoffs. But he is definitely someone that I can see the Flames either being a team that takes it on, him as the player, or is a third team involved? No one really, well, I guess typically the team that sheds that salary is the winner. I just, you have to really, I mean, truly at the end of the day, the Flames are in a position to take on pretty much any bad contract. But I think for that to happen, they really need to be getting something beneficial to them that sweetens the deal. And we're going to talk more about this in a little bit, but you want to be like Arizona a few years ago with all those draft picks, all those second round draft picks, right? But we've heard about Patrick Laine really wanting a change of scenery. Merzlikins really wants out, and Don Waddell came into like one of his first media availabilities and said, yeah, no one's trading for that contract. That sounds like a challenge. That sounds like a challenge that Craig Conroy might be interested in. You know, I don't think that the Flames are interested in adding another goalie necessarily. But I mean, if you can get something out of it, maybe things shift. Maybe the plans shift a little bit there. I don't really have an issue with taking on contracts. Like, I think of like Shea Weber, who like just that Arizona contract, like he was traded to Arizona and like never played for them. He's been injured and will never play for them. There are situations where that happens. Like it's not, I mean, maybe it is circumventing the cap a little bit, but you have to get creative in a hard salary cap world. You have to get creative. And Craig Conroy really, like, he can make these general managers dance. If he says jump, they need to say how high and do a little flip. Because why should Craig Conroy do you a favor, especially if you are a rival? And I understand the Flames aren't in a competitive spot, so like it really doesn't matter, but why should I help you as an Oiler? I don't know who. I mean, Cody Cece's, I don't know. That whole organization's a mess. Sure, they made it to the Stanley Cup final, but like, at what cost? For me, Craig Conroy saying they'll take on bad contracts like super early this summer shows me that there was a plan. And there was something that was like truly thought out and strategized, as opposed to, we'll just do what we can, you know, we'll hand out these contracts left and right, and hopefully we have enough cap space to re-sign Dustin Wolf or whatever the case may be. And I do know that obviously Jacob Trouba has that no movement, no trade clause, whichever variation it is, and that list has been submitted. So I wonder if now that that's submitted and they have some like flexibility, maybe something does get done. Do I want him to be a Flame? No. Do I want draft picks? Yeah. So we're just gonna have to wait and see, because you truly never know what these general managers are concocting. And like there was a 3-team trade earlier with the Flames, this past trade deadline. Like New Jersey got something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like, I'm pretty sure it was like a 3rd-round draft pick or something, like it, because they helped take on some money. No idea. So there is some benefit here, and we're going to talk about those benefits coming up next, and we will be right back after this. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. You can follow me on Twitter at @JustBelmosto. With rebuilding comes like that really bad hockey, but you're also like building up excitement and these draft picks, these young prospects, like for the future. And yeah, you know, it might not be a lot of fun watching them right now, but you know, 2-3 years down the line, things might be a little different, because you don't know that Zane Perrick, that draft pick, he looks good. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Wow. You never know what this draft pick like might turn out to be. it looks like it's a pretty decently high ceiling for Zane Perrick. So, like, you're looking forward to that. So it kind of helps make this not so great time a little less bad. But should the Flames take on bad contracts? Sure. Why not? Like, they have the opportunity to acquire more draft capital and assets that they need to build out and up while helping someone out. And, like, it's not about helping someone out, because, like, at the end of the day, this is all a business. But you are doing something very beneficial for your team. Think about Arizona, and I mentioned it before. How many second-round draft picks did they collect after being either a third team in a trade to, the joke was that Arizona was laundering money. They were the third team in the trade because they could afford to take that on, and they needed to get to the cap floor. The Flames had to, they really had to try to get to the cap floor this year. And they're going to continue that. Like, that's going to be a trend. And I really like that the Flames have the opportunity to do this. They, like I said, there's flexibility. You have the option to keep those draft picks, or you can package them up. You can just, you can use them in all sorts of different situations. Like, the ball is truly in your court in these situations. And I think Craig Conroy is capable of navigating these. I have not seen Craig Conroy give out a bad contract. Everything that he acquired and inherited, that's not his fault. He did not do any of that. He looked and watched for 9 whole years and said, that's what I'm not going to do. But in all seriousness, like, if you need to help a team out by taking on a full contract and a player, or even just like a piece of the contract, you're still getting something in return and not just adding to your books. So I like that idea. I think that the Flames, again, really need to capitalize on any opportunity that they can to get more draft capital, to figure out a way, like, even if it's just, like, if you were to trade, I'm just thinking of a random prospect, let's say Cole Schwinn. You send Cole Schwinn in a second that, like, wasn't your second. It was one that you acquired. You sweeten the deal. Cole Schwinn, big fan. But it's not, it's like free things to play with. It's like when you order a 4-piece nugget meal and you end up getting 5. It's like there's an extra bonus. And the Flames need as many extra bonuses as they can get. Because the more picks you have, I know this isn't summer school, but probability here. The more picks you have, the more likely you are to get something to stick. You don't become a good hockey team without being creative and strategic. And Craig Conroy is really doing that. He, like, I don't want to praise a man for anyone for just doing their job, but it is so different. He is such a different type of general manager than I am used to covering with Brad Treliving. I think that he doesn't pull any punches. He's very straightforward about things. His goal, like, his cards are on the table, but I think that he's learned to kind of hold them just a little bit closer. He'll let you know his plan, like, yeah, we're open to taking on bad contracts, or, yeah, like, we're going to be trading this guy. Okay. Like there's room for Craig Conroy to grow, but if this is how it's starting out, chef's kiss. I think it's great. I like what we're seeing. I don't hate that he is willing to take these risks and reap the rewards. It's a low risk, high reward situation. If you just take on, like, again, I'm just going to use Trouba as an example because that's the first player and the number that I know. If you take on that contract, say you take on 6.75. So then New York's holding on to the rest, or they find a different team to take on some money. If Jacob Trouba is in your lineup, Jacob Trouba is in your lineup. Hopefully you're sitting him and Martin Pospisil down and saying, don't do that. But like you just have to kind of deal with it until it's not your problem anymore. And that's also another thing. Do you want reputation of a headhunter being on your team? Do you want that? And that's why I have a problem, not concerns, a problem with the Flames if they tried to acquire Evander Kane. I don't think that would happen. Also because of Kadri and his prior beef. I would love to see Kadri just get his revenge, but his revenge was winning the Stanley Cup. Evander Kane, can't say the same. But in all seriousness, like, you have to think about the people you are bringing into this locker room. Jacob Trouba, great leader, great human being outside of hockey and what he stands for. And, he's a big proponent of family and values and, mental health. And I think that that's a very big part of the Flames organization. But again, you really want to rock with that? Are you sure? There's still a lot of time left on that contract. But let's not do it anymore. We don't need to explore that option. There are other bad contracts that we can have fun with. But that will do it for me on today's episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. If you went to the Stampede, I hope you had fun. I hope you saw Matthew Tkachuk. And it's fun. I enjoy living through you guys. It's a blast. But make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. I am here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And until tomorrow, stay safe, stay warm, stay dry, stay cool, stay hydrated, and be kind.